Welcome to HB Reddit Stories. Today we will see stories of r/am I the a-hole? Am I the a-hole for vetoing putting an offer on my wife's dream house? My wife, 34F, and I, 38M, are shopping for our first house. We both put together lists of needs, wants, and deal breakers for our desired home. We both had similar lists in terms of needs and wants. Multiple bedrooms and good schools for when we have kids, fenced-in yard for our dog, no major renovations needed, etc. I only had one real deal breaker. I told her I would refuse to even put an offer in on a house that has an homeowners association. My parents lived in an homeowners association when I was a teenager and I saw the amount of BS they had to go through all the time. There's no way I want to spend a huge amount of money and have to deal with that kind of thing for who knows how many years. The house could check every single box in our need and want list and I would still refuse to even try and buy it. Well, our search has not been an easy one. We have been priced out of a lot of areas that we were hoping to live in. And the houses that are more within our budget are not exactly what we're looking for. We've toured dozens of houses. Had offers rejected. Had sellers try to get us into bidding wars. We've argued, disagreed, and fought. It sucked. Last week our realtor sent us a home that was just hitting the market. She was excited because she thought it was exactly what we are looking for. My wife fell in love with the pictures and wanted to set up a tour. But as I was looking at the listing, I saw it has an homeowners association. I told my wife that I don't even want to go look at it since I don't want to put an offer in. She decided to set up a tour with the realtor without me. She viewed the home without telling me about it, then came home and was all excited to submit an offer. She spent an entire evening trying to convince me that it's her dream house, and that we need to submit an offer before it's too late. She said there's no harm in submitting an offer just to see what the sellers say. I told her that she knows an homeowners association is my #1 deal breaker and that I find it pretty upsetting that she would go behind my back and do this on her own and then try and convince me to compromise my stance. She tried to downplay how much of an impact an homeowners association would have on our lives and told me that a little inconvenience from an homeowners association won't offset how much we enjoy our home. But she's never lived in an homeowners association. She hasn't seen firsthand how nuts they can be and how stressful it can be for a homeowner. I reminded her that when we started looking, that we both agreed that this had to be a 2-yes decision. Meaning that if one of us vetoed a house for whatever reason, we wouldn't pursue it. And she knows that an homeowners association is my #1 veto reason. She's now super pissed at me for vetoing her dream house. She's telling me we will never find a house that checks so many of her wants and needs and that I should just let go of the homeowners association thing and submit an offer. I told her she's letting her frustration with the process cloud her judgment and she's taking it out on me. Top comments. You're allowed to both have deal breakers. So, regardless of what your deal breakers are, you are not the a-hole here. That said, I know Reddit is a hate-filled rajagoblin when it comes to homeowner associations. And there are absolutely horrible ones out there. But, there are also perfectly harmless ones. And there are even really nice ones that do a good job without being obnoxious. Want to know how to tell? Go take a walk in the neighborhood on a Saturday. Say hi to people you meet. Pet their dogs and talk to them about the neighborhood and the homeowners association. If it's garbage, people are going to be itching to tell you their horror stories. No a-hole here because buying a house as two people is a tough process and it can make a-holes out of the most non-a-hole-ish among us. My partner and I just closed on a house that we both love but involved major compromises on both of our parts. I found that it was very difficult to treat things that were important to her but not to me as legitimate parts of the decision rather than obstacles to a decision that satisfied myself. I think both of you may be having trouble with that as well. My suggestion would be to get your realtor to give you a copy of the rules for this homeowners association, do some research, and see if it's really as bad as you fear. My old neighborhood had one on paper but in practice it did nothing. Either way, your wife will appreciate your willingness to consider compromising on this issue. Next story. Am I the a-hole for asking money for the food I bought for friend's wedding? I am 28F living in DE with a well-paid job, currently supporting both myself and my boyfriend, who lost his job. Recently, I was invited to a 2-day Spanish-Italian wedding as the bride's witness. The 2-day event was held 3 hours away from the city and included a wedding ceremony, lunch, party, and next day a barbecue to celebrate the relative's birthday. We were told not to bring any gifts as the couple has planned second wedding in Italy for 80+ people and rented out a mansion. The groom's family is very rich. As a witness and best friend, I always went above and beyond by helping her in everyday life. For the wedding I rented a car for plus €250. I was picking up guests and helping a lot with logistics, bringing PPL from and to the airport. However, things took a weird turn when I arrived to the barbecue and was told that there is not enough food for us and we have to go shopping. Fine, it happens, we made a list of groceries for ourselves. While we shopped, I got calls from the hosts to buy more food. My boyfriend was even asked to get fresh bread. At the barbecue, I was asked to help with cooking, which I ended up doing for 1 hour. The food which we bought was distributed around all tables, meaning that we kinda sponsored the barbecue which we were invited to. The stupidest moment was that when my boyfriend asked for bread, he wasn't allowed to take the fresh bread he bought. Fiancé's relative was not doing much, he was suffering from hangover from previous night. Others were hanging around and enjoying the setup. I had a nasty feeling, though I was happy that I could help. Afterwards, the couple went on a honeymoon and asked me to take care of their plants for 1 month, which is totally fine with me. I prepared them a nice bottle of champagne to celebrate their return from the honeymoon. As I spent a lot of money on food, I wanted to get some reimbursement. It's not like I bought food for only my boyfriend, my friend and me, but for all others who could have gone shopping as well. I added the expenses to splitwise and assigned 2/5 to the bride. Despite my efforts and expenses, I was harshly criticized for being a terrible friend, for not bringing a present, not washing dishes, or contributing enough financially. I was told that I should be thankful that their friends allowed us to stay overnight. We got them a bottle of expensive wine as a thank you. Then her fiancé accused me of trying to get their money and suggested I check my finances. The groom even implied that I didn't do enough for the wedding. However, I had already followed their words not to bring a gift and had been supportive in various ways. I was at work and all of this destroyed me emotionally. In conclusion, I felt unappreciated and hurt by the accusations and misunderstandings from my friend and the couple. I had genuinely tried to help and contribute, but it seemed like my efforts were not recognized or valued. Top comments. Not the a-hole. Use the champagne to water the plants and cut them out of your life. Opie replies. I can also cut the plants and drink champagne myself. I'd very clearly tell her that this is her wedding and while you were willing to help with your time, it should not fall on you to pay for their wedding. It's as simple as that. If she pushes back, if she doesn't apologize, then you need to really think about this friendship and analyze if it's actually a reciprocal friendship. Would she have done so much for you? Opie replies. I was shocked to receive such requests. In my head and in my culture, if I am hosting a party, I am covering the expenses for everything. If someone wants to bring wine etc., it's a nice gesture to me. If I am missing some groceries, I would give the money immediately to the guest who buys it. There is no speculation about it. I understand there could be some financial struggles, but it's not the case here. Info. The response seems to be all from the fiancé and not your friend. What does your friend think? Opie replies. As the posts are limited to 3.000 characters, I put only the main details in. In reality, my best friend wrote me first that I should be ashamed of putting expenses as I was invited to the wedding and my lunch and drinks were paid for. She was the one to start the accusation line, though later she wrote me, hey, I need to sleep over it, I will call you later. I have been thinking that she realized that she was too harsh and I do not deserve all of it. I had a bit of cry here, but then 1 hour later the bomb from fiancé came. Next story. Am I the a-hole for admitting my sister taught me how to cook and refusing to teach my step-siblings? My older sister, 26F, taught me, 16M, how to cook years ago. Whenever I go to her house we cook together too. She doesn't speak to our dad at all and she never met his wife or his stepkids. She always said she's not a part of dad's family but she and I are family and that feels pretty right. Honestly I feel like I'm a part of her family but not dad's. He's just made so many mistakes and he only owns up to some of them. Some of them happened when our mom was sick, like disappearing for days at a time and leaving my sister to take over caring for me and for mom. Or like selling a lot of mom's stuff so we'd have more money in the direct aftermath of her death. Or when he invited a random woman into the house after mom's funeral and very clearly had sex with her while we were in the house and let the random woman wander around like she owned the place until the next day. He admitted to my sister that he cheated while mom was dying. I heard him confess to her. But stuff like that are dad's mistakes. He just didn't give any consideration to us. My sister was like, "F this, I'm out," 8 years ago, and she said even back then she'd never come back, which she hasn't. I sometimes cook for myself. I eat at friends' houses a lot too. So the other day I went out to grab some ingredients and made a pasta bake for myself, and my dad's wife and her kids came home while I was eating. His wife questioned me later in the day and asked where I learned to cook, and I admitted my sister taught me. She told me it would be great if I taught her kids, it would give us some bonding time. I was like, no, I don't wanna. She insisted it would be perfect and a sweet idea. Dad didn't say anything. His wife's daughter said she really wanted me to teach her and got excited because she saw it as a done deal. When I didn't give in, my dad's wife told me I should pass on the big sibling knowledge of cooking, and it's important that I take on an older sibling role with her kids instead of acting like we're strangers. I said we really are. I told her I already have a sister and I don't need another or a brother. I also told her it wasn't my job to be her kid's big sibling. She told me it's selfish to hold out when I had a big sibling to teach me. Am I the a-hole? Top comments. Stepmom, I understand that you think it's a sweet idea. I don't disagree, I had a good time learning from my sister. But that interaction came out of a genuine interest in both sides. You trying to force me to do this with your children really just results in me disliking you and your kids. As far as the practical skills, my sister was able to figure out cooking even without an older sibling or an even parents. Your children will figure it out eventually too, but are also lucky enough to have you. As for the bonding opportunity, it wasn't something I was keen on to begin with, but you have actually soured me on it now. Your kids and I have a okay relationship right now, please don't ruin that for us by trying to force something out of its natural evolution. Not the a-hole. Tell her that her children don't have an older sibling like you do, but they do have a mother to teach them. Tell her that your older sibling had to stand in for your deceased mother, and would she prefer her kids be in that situation? Not the a-hole. Your dad and his wife did not do anything right to make you really feel like a family. So, your refusal to treat all of these entitled people like a family is understandable. Next story. Am I the a-hole for telling my mom she was the naive one who expected her husband's son to magically change? I, 22M, was born deaf and was never a candidate for hearing aids. I was taught ASL, and my mom and others in my family learned ASL too. This is the only way I could ever speak or be spoken to. I don't lip read or anything like that. My dad wasn't in my life ever. And when I was 9, my mom started dating Tom. Tom had a 10-year-old son, Cole, at the time. It was pretty clear from the start that Cole was unenthusiastic about us and had no interest in learning ASL to speak to me. Tom and Mom decided we should all take family ASL classes and learn together in a fun environment, which the classes they found were. Cole had to be dragged, and he didn't take part willingly or eagerly. If anything, he'd intentionally do things wrong and make himself do worse than he would have naturally, so he was asked less. He did eventually take them seriously. My mom believed it was because he had really bonded with me and now gave a crap about communicating with me. But that wasn't it. He had a new kid in school he wanted to talk to who was also deaf. The new guy was his motivation for learning. Cole and I never talked enough for him to be motivated to learn, and he made lots of mistakes when talking to me, but I noticed his ASL was perfect with his friend. It always felt weird living with someone who didn't want me around. My mom and Tom believed we'd blended eventually. I think there was some fight when Cole turned 17 and my mom and Tom wanted to go away for a weekend. I remember everyone looked so tense one morning, and I was told I'd be going to stay with my grandparents for the weekend since it wasn't a great idea to leave me home alone when I couldn't hear if something was wrong. My assumption is they wanted Cole to keep an eye on me and make sure I was okay, and he let them know he really didn't care what happened to me. Cole and I haven't seen each other since he moved out. My mom has asked a few times if we've met up or whatever, and I'm always honest and say no. She finally asked me 2 or 3 weeks ago if things were good between Cole and me, and I told her she had to have picked up on the fact he never wanted us around and wasn't interested in being good between him and me. She said she really believed that had changed once we got closer, and she brought up how he took ASL more seriously. I told her it was clearly for his friend, not me. She was clearly shocked, but brought it up again over the weekend, and she told me she thought I was very naive to think Cole didn't learn ASL for both, and that him being resistant at first didn't mean he didn't grow to love me. I told her she was the naive one to expect him to magically change out of nowhere. I told her if she wanted to be married to Tom that badly, it's fine. But she should accept it wasn't so perfect for me, and her claiming I'm naive about Cole shows how much she wants to overlook. Mom was not cool with what I said to her. She told me I didn't need to hurt her feelings. Am I the a-hole? Top comments. I cannot stand wishful thinking by parents who refuse to accept the evidence right in front of their eyes, never mind the direct words of their child. Ren. You told her the truth. It's her problem if her feelings are hurt. That's just her deflecting her guilt about the whole situation back onto you, not the a-hole. It's sad how so many parents think that when they remarry, the kids from both partners are going to magically become best friends and act like most brothers and sisters. My mom has, so far, been married 4 times, and there are former stepbrothers and sisters I can't even remember their names, let alone be friends with. Live your life, let your mom think whatever she needs to so she can feel better about her decisions. You are definitely not the a-hole. Next story. Am I the a-hole for ruining dinner by calling my wife's friend's Virgo moment a tantrum? My wife's oldest friend's birthday was yesterday, and so their friendship group threw her a birthday dinner at a restaurant. I was invited as a +1. So full transparency, I've never liked this friend. She's always seemed too dramatic and over the top for me. Always attributed everything to her star sign. Insufferable comes to mind if I were to use one word. That said, I usually just ignore her and let her be whenever we're in the same room, because why not? Yesterday though, she was making a big deal because they got her dessert order wrong. TBF, we did wait like 45 minutes for it to arrive, so I get that, but she just kept complaining to the group and then stopped herself and said she was going to have a Virgo moment, whatever TF that means, and I said under my breath but clearly too audibly, "You mean a tantrum?" She asked me to repeat myself, and the cat was clearly already out the bag, so I did. She asked what I meant by that, and I explained there's no such thing as a Virgo moment, just a grown person throwing a tantrum, which devolved into a young back and forth, ruined mood and us leaving early. I don't think calling it a tantrum was wrong because it is one, but choosing to speak up at her birthday dinner is probably where I dropped the ball and effed up. I was calm throughout and didn't escalate things, but even then, it didn't have to be said because there really was no outcome where things would have worked out well. Am I the a-hole? Edited to add, saw this come up a couple times so thought I'd explain. I went because my wife asked me. All partners were there. The dinner was paid for by the friend group. She wasn't screaming and throwing plates, but she was really hammering down on complaining about this and had to keep getting stopped going to the kitchen despite them apologizing throughout for the delay and the mix-up. Top comments. Everyone sucks here. If her birthday was yesterday, then she is a Leo, not a Virgo, and her whole life sounds like one big Leo moment. However, you called her out for throwing a tantrum before she ever threw one. In fact, you did it right while she was trying to calm herself down about a frustrating situation. You're just as much of a fan of stirring up drama as she is. Everyone sucks here, but I'm leaning towards you are the a-hole. Yeah, your wife's friend sounds annoying, but did you really need to embarrass her and make her feel bad on her birthday? If you don't like her, why even go? You're not obligated to attend every event you're invited to. What was the point of going out to dinner with someone you can't stand? It's no surprise things went south since you clearly struggled to tolerate her. Sure, she might be obsessed with her star sign and rambling a bit, but did she really deserve to be treated that way? It was her birthday, and it's not like she was being toxic or abusive, she was just frustrated because she got the wrong order and had to wait 45+ minutes for it. On her birthday, no less. She had every right to be annoyed, and you made things worse by speaking up. Honestly, you shouldn't have gone in the first place. You ruined her birthday, and she has every right to be upset, even if she is annoying. Everyone sucks here. You nailed it. She's a bit insane and blames it on her star sign. But yeah, pointing this out at her birthday party was bad form. You are the a-hole. You're invited to a gathering for someone you don't like. Instead of politely declining, you show up and then respond to her in a rude, snarky way when you already know what she is like. Yes, you blew it, buddy. Should have stayed home. I hope you guys liked this video. If you did, make sure like, comment, share and subscribe the channel HB Reddit Stories.